On August 30, NIS America will release a new combo, 2 games for the price of 1, Pucelle Ragnarok and Rhapsody a musical adventure. These are not new games, but rather 2 re-releases. Pucelle Ragnarok was released in 2002 for PlayStation 2, but under a different name, Pucelle Tactics. In 2009 came a version for PlayStation Portable and also the name change, Pucelle Ragnarok. The second game in this edition is called Rhapsody, a musical story, and was already released in 1998 for the PlayStation. Much later came a version for the Nintendo DS, but now everyone gets the chance to experience these games again. This edition that will be available for Nintendo Switch will cost $40, and maybe it will be worth the money. Although we are talking about games that have been around for a long time, there are 2 extensive adventures. In the usual NIS spirit, these aren't games you run through in one night. Well, maybe if you are an experienced speedrunner. But for us mere mortals, you can expect 2 games that will take a long time to get through. I received a copy of this game, but since I haven't played through both games fully, it feels unfair to do a full review. That's why I choose to make an impression video. Of course, the games can be downloaded in Nintendo's eShop, but as usual, there are also a couple of physical versions, a standard edition and a deluxe edition. I have played the games on Nintendo Switch, but it will also be available for PC. Something that is consistent for both games is that the graphics feel dated. The games are almost 20 years old, and maybe the developers wanted to capture that perfect retro feel. Personally, I think the result gives a mixed impression. The playing fields in Pucelle look rather rough. They are not very detailed. On the other hand, I think the medieval-inspired cities in Rhapsody give a good impression. Narrow passages, crooked roads and buildings, in combination with nice color schemes. I like it. But what both games have in common is that you shouldn't expect graphics that are in line with the latest Disgaea games. This is retro. The first game, Pucelle, is about Prior and her brother Coletta. They are part of a demon hunting organization called Pucelle. You get to follow their adventures against the rival church with evil intentions. In terms of gameplay, many fans of the Disgaea games will recognize themselves. The game is turn-based. The fights take place on a board where you move your squad around with the goal of trying to eliminate your enemies. However, there are some features that make everything more interesting. On the playing field, you sometimes see dark portals on the ground. These can be activated and deal damage to your enemies. They also have other benefits, such as healing, for example. But be careful, the dark portals are a gateway for enemies, so if you don't remove them after a number of rounds, you risk being surrounded by a lot of enemies. I think the dark portals are a pretty fun part of the game. They add an extra dimension to the battles, which can require extra tactical thinking. The possibility also exists to convert one's enemies. By clearing their mind, they can become part of your team and become useful in battle. In addition, it's possible to train the converted, so they become stronger. The second game is called Rhapsody, a musical adventure. It's about Cornette looking for true love. Specifically a certain prince, but she has a competitor in the Wicked Witch Majorly. I think it's called Majorly, or maybe Majorly. Well, I call her Majorly. By accident, Majorly happens to enchant the prince into stone and then escape. Equipped with her horn, Cornette sets out into the world where both dangers and many encounters await. Will she find her prince again? Whoever plays gets to see. The first thing that strikes me is that the combat system is simply structured. Just like in Pucelle, you moved in a closed area where you take turns moving around your troops. The battles are turn-based. The possibilities you have consists of fighting, using magic, special attacks and various individual skills. For example, Cornette uses her horn to boost her fellow players. Their attacks will then do more damage. It's very easy to understand, and from what I played I rarely needed any major tactical genius to win, but for those who want an extra challenge, you can choose the degree of difficulty, easy, normal or hard. Something that is common in this type of games is that you level up, so there is some character development. We're talking about stronger attacks, intellect, defense, hit, agility, and so on. Additionally, useful items can be found or purchased that make you better equipped for battle. In La Pucelle, each character has 4 slots to fill. In Rhapsody, only 3. That said, these aren't super advanced games with extensive skill trees or tons of slots for gear. Everything feels very basic and easy to understand and use. I find this edition entertaining, but it's unfair to compare with the modern Disgaea games. These 2 games have been around for quite a while, which is also part of the charm. After all, these are not copies of the old. There are many improvements over the original. For example, new scenarios or new characters. And I have to say, it's been pretty entertaining so far. They are 2 light-hearted games that still offer plenty of content. In true NIS spirit, it's a game you hardly get through in one evening. Lots of fights and lots of cutscenes and drama. Personally, I prefer the Rhapsody, a musical adventure. It feels more unique somehow, mostly depending on the neat world and an entertaining story. So these were my impressions of Prinny Presents NIS Classics Volume 3. And again, the game will be released on August 30th for those interested. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I review new games every week. Have a nice day. See ya!